Hey guys, and welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia. I'm coming to you from the UK. I'm a German knitter living in the UK, and today is Tuesday. It's the 10th of November 2020, which is crazy, and I'm just so happy that you're joining me today. I pretty much decided to record this episode about 3 minutes ago, so this is very spontaneous. You can probably hear my baby boy babbling on in the background, so enjoy that if you will. But yeah, I just had a couple of minutes and I thought, why not take the opportunity and try to record a little bit. So first up, thank you so much for the warm welcome that you guys gave me after the last episode. It took me such a long time to get it out, and I wasn't quite sure how I felt about podcasting, and the outpouring of love and comments and messages and everything was just so nice. And yeah, thank you so much to everyone who tuned in. And if you're watching for the first time, I should probably introduce myself just a tiny bit. So essentially, my name is Julia. I'm from Germany. I've been doing this podcast for a little over 4 years now. So I started back when I was studying psychology, then I worked for a couple of years, and well, now we had a baby boy in late August. So that's basically what I'm doing all day at the moment. We also just moved to Hertfordshire, which is just north of London, about almost 4 weeks ago, which is so crazy. It feels a lot longer though. And yeah, I am obsessively knitting. I also have been doing a little bit of pattern design on Ravelry, so I'm kind of working on that at the moment, which I'll talk about more in a later episode. I also love spinning. Again, I have some exciting news coming up on that as well. I dabble in crochet. I've tried sewing, but I don't really enjoy sewing. So yeah, I live here now with my husband and baby boy, and that is basically what we're doing. Also, I should say that I may be sounding a little bit off because I had a bit of a throat ache, so I'm sorry about that, but well, that is where we are. So, shall we jump into the knitting? I think we really should. So, I have a couple of finished objects, and I'm not wearing any of them. But first up, I finished something that you haven't even seen as a work in progress, but the other day I just really felt like a quick project, something to kind of challenge me in, not a challenging project, but something with a pattern, and I decided to whip up this hat that I've been wanting to knit for a while. This is the October hat by Kelburn Woolens, and I think they have a hat for each month and all of them are free patterns, so I would really recommend those. I knit this using a yarn that I was gifted by a friend. This is West Yorkshire Spinners Croft Aran yarn, so it's an Aran weight. It's a very woolly wool. I really like it. In terms of modifications, I didn't do the double brim, so this pattern really has a brim that you fold back, but it required a little bit more yarn than I had. And I know that a couple of people who had used this yarn had run out, so I decided to just do a single brim. And because I don't like super slouchy hats, I also did one less repeat of the cables, and it turns out like a perfect beanie. So I really like it. Maybe I should just leave it on. And it was really fun to make. Another thing that I have finished, and I haven't even tried it on yet, is this sweater. So this is the Richter sweater, which I cast on, I think, back in July when I was on maternity leave, or when I started my maternity leave, but was still pregnant. This is a pattern by Julia Wilkins. It is actually just written for 2-color color work, but what I did, as you can maybe tell, is I used a set of gradient minis for the contrasting color. All the yarn is Holst Super Soft, which is a very affordable Danish yarn. I love it. I've knit many projects with it, and last time I showed this to you, I was almost done with the first sleeve, so now I have finished the second sleeve. And I have even blocked it, if you can believe it. So this thing is done. All the ends are also woven in. I just need to cut them off and actually try this on, which I'm not sure why I haven't done that. Maybe I should. Ta-da! So there we go. This is my Richter sweater on with the ends hanging off it. But it does fit. It's a tiny bit snug around the yoke, which it's okay though. I think it works just fine. I'm also wearing a long sleeve top underneath, which I wouldn't usually do under my sweaters. So I think if I weren't wearing that, it would fit quite nicely. I love the color, I love the fit. In terms of the positive ease, there's a little bit of positive ease in this sweater. I'm not sure how well you can see it, but I do really like it. Right now I am preferring to wear like the thicker, warmer jumpers just because it can be quite drafty and cold here in the UK, apparently. So, but I think this will be a good sweater for spring and such. So I am just very happy to have this off the needles. It also took me quite a while because it's a thin yarn and tiny needles, and it wasn't really the perfect project to get back into knitting after having a baby, but oh well. That leads us nicely into what I've been working on, because I have been neglecting all of my works in progress and casting on all the new things. And because this was such a slow knit, I decided to do the opposite. So excuse me while I get out of frame and pick up what I've been meaning to show you. But I am knitting a chunky garment now. I've never knit anything out of chunky yarn, I think. But I had this yarn in my stash. This is yarn I got on a sale from Jamieson & Smith a while ago. And this is the Jamieson & Smith Shetland Chunky. So it's 100% Shetland wool, and I think I got like a 500 gram pack or something for really not a huge amount of money a while back. So I just jumped on it. And I expected this to be a very sort of woolly, scratchy yarn, but I was really surprised when it arrived. It's actually really soft. So what it is a very loosely plied 2-ply, and yeah, I really like it. It's probably not the color that I would have usually picked, but I do like it, and I decided to knit it up. So I basically went with the first pattern that I already had in my library, and that was suitable for my gauge that I was getting with this yarn, and I am knitting the Magnolia Chunky cardigan. So the Magnolia cardigan is a pattern by Camilla Ward, which I've been wanting to knit for ages. I actually saw her, I think, wearing the original sample at the Oslo Stricker Festival last year. And I'm not even actually sure. I think I'm about 80% sure that I will do the Magnolia lace pattern, unless I am super lazy, in which case I may just skip that and basically just use the pattern as a template for a more simple cardigan. But we will decide that later on. Nothing exciting to show you guys. Essentially, I've just done the ribbing and now I am doing the increases. So I'm almost done with the increases in the yoke. I think I have one more set of increases and a couple of rows to knit, and then I will separate for the sleeves. And then it should get a little bit more interesting, and also the rows shouldn't be as long anymore. So right now this is looking very big. It is scrunched up on tiny needles, but still. So I have measured my gauge and it should be fine, but it's looking a bit funny. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, that is one thing that I've been working on. And then last night, very spontaneously, I decided to do another cast on. And that is very much inspired by Dunderknit, who is Caroline, who has the Knitting Vicariously podcast. And she's just doing the knit along again, where you can blame any cast on her, and I decided to do exactly that, go big or go home, and cast on with some yarn of mine that is one of my favorite and most precious yarns in my stash. I got it for my birthday, my last birthday, and it is this yarn. This is Brooklyn Tweed Loft, and this is a yarn that I've been wanting to get a sweater quantity of for years and years. So you may know I'm not really shy when it comes to purchasing yarns, but I do look at the price, and at least in Germany this is quite an expensive yarn to get a hold of. But I got it on a sale last year, this year, around my birthday. And I got myself a sweater quantity, and it's been kind of sitting in my stash for a while. And I thought, well, you know what, we are in lockdown and things are hard enough as they are, and why not cast on with some really pretty yarn that I love. So that is what I did last night. And again, I don't have anything exciting to show you, but I have cast on for a pattern that, again, I had already bought a while ago. So I'm trying to knit through the things that I actually bought and have in my library already. And what I'm doing is the Pink Velvet Sweater by Andrea Mowry. So if you haven't seen it, it is a top-down colorwork sweater. And the interesting thing about hers is that the colorwork yoke is actually partly knit with mohair. So the contrast in color is held, is it mohair or suri alpaca? It's held with one of those fuzzy yarns, which gives you a really, really interesting effect. But I decided to just do it without the fuzzy yarn because I just really thought the colorwork looked so pretty. So I'm using these two shades to knit the sweater. The main color is this dark one, which is colorway Plume, and then the light one is really, really beautiful. This is the shade Postcard. I'm of course running low on yarn because I never purchase enough yarn. I'm always playing yarn chicken, if you don't know. But I think we should be okay. So I think I have a couple of plain rows to knit, and then I can start the color work. So that's what I'm planning to do tonight, if I can get Kai to look after the baby for a little bit. And yeah, I'm really, really, really excited about this, if you can't tell. All right, so I'm re-recording this last bit of the podcast because there was something that went wrong with the image quality. So here we go again. I'm sorry if I repeat myself, but essentially what you've just seen is all that I've been knitting on, really. I have not worked on the sock projects that I showed you last week, unfortunately. But I have done a little bit of crochet as well. So I've been doing my giant granny square, which I showed you on the last podcast episode as well. But the thing is, it doesn't really change that much, so I thought it isn't really worth showing it to you again. I am trying to work on it a fair bit because I would like to have it done before December starts, because yes, I fell into the rabbit hole of advent calendars and yarn advent calendars this year. So I have both one from an indie dyer, which I feel really, really fortunate to have, and also one that I've made as a swap with a very good friend of mine. So we both just swapped mini skeins that we had in our stash. So that's a lot of scrappy project potential right there. So I'd like to get my crochet granny square blanket finished or close to finish before we start December. So we'll see how it goes. I'm kind of making Sunday my blanket day of the week, so I tend to crochet quite a bit anyways, just especially in the night when I'm just hanging out with both Kai and the baby, and we just maybe want to do something brainless and talk, and I just need something in my hands. But yeah, I'm making an effort to focus on my blankets on Sundays. Besides that, really there is nothing major to write home about, but I mentioned last week that if you had any questions, to please ask them. So one obvious question, it turns out I didn't really answer last week, which is, why are we even in the UK? Like, what made us move here? How long are we staying? What is the whole reasoning behind that? So I thought I would just explain that really, really quickly. The real answer of why are we here and how long are we staying is we don't really know. Essentially, we both really like living in other places. So I did a year in school in Australia, and I've been traveling a fair bit. And my husband, he studied in Sweden and also likes going places. He also works for a British company and has been doing that for a couple of years now. So hence we're living in the UK now. Essentially, last year in about August, we decided to take the plunge and really seriously start looking into working and living abroad. And as you probably can guess, it takes a bit of time to work it all out because my husband wanted to stay with his company and I was thinking about what I wanted to do. I wasn't super happy with my current job that I had basically up until I had the baby. Um, so it took a while, and then in about March this year, we found out that we would be either moving to the UK or to Philadelphia in the US. And in that time, I already was pregnant, so that was one less thing to think about. Um, and yeah, so I was kind of torn between these two places, and in the end, it turned out to be the UK, which I am quite happy about in hindsight because with COVID, I don't think we would have ever made it to the US. Already, thanks to COVID, we had to postpone our move. So we were originally planning to move in the end of April, and we ended up moving in October. But here we are. So that's where we're living at the moment. We have no sort of set timeline. My husband is here on an unlimited contract, so we're just kind of seeing how it goes. I'm thinking we want to stay at least a couple of years, ideally, to make it all worth it, because obviously it was quite a big move, it was quite a big effort, especially under the circumstances that we had. And yeah, so we do want this to be a somewhat long term thing, but we really don't know. So it depends on how Brexit plays out and just how things go in general. We are planning to raise our boy bilingually, so we speak German with him at home, and he obviously hears and especially will hear in the future a lot of English whenever we are out, and even more so once he starts nursery or anything like that. So yeah, I know I don't have a ton of answers, but it just kind of depends on how everything goes and how we like it here and how it works out job-wise for both of us eventually. But yeah, that is the answer to that question. Another question that I got is to talk about which baby knits have been worn a lot and which ones I really liked. And I am planning to do that episode. I think it'll be a special episode because I have so many thoughts on baby knits and what works and what didn't really work and what I would knit in the future. But that requires a bit more preparation, and also right now my baby boy is covered in baby knits. So I need to find a time when he's not wearing all of them because he's been wearing them a ton. And when all of them are also clean, somewhat clean. So I will address that in a future episode. Besides that, we are in lockdown now, so I can't report anything major that has been happening. We've both or all of us have been pretty much staying at home, except for going for daily walks, which have been really nice. We've been quite lucky with the weather, I think. So even when it rains sometimes, usually we've had so much sun and it's beautiful and autumnal out there. Especially considering we're almost in mid-November, I think it just has been so nice. And we live in a place that is both close to shops and restaurants if they were open, but also to parks and even the countryside. So we went on a huge walk on the weekend, which was quite interesting because I forgot to take the baby sling, so we had our pram with us and we were going through these muddy countryside paths, and it was really interesting but absolutely stunning. Yeah, so we've kind of been just exploring the neighborhood. We don't have a car at the moment. We're not even sure if we're going to get one anytime soon. So I'm doing a lot of walking and discovering places, and yeah, it's been quite fun. Um, yeah, I think that's it for today. Baby boy has decided to fall asleep, which is fun, which is great. So maybe I can even edit this episode now and then put it up onto YouTube. This has been a bit more all over the place than usual, and I think going forward, episodes will just be like that because I just try to fit them in whenever is possible. And I mean, ideally, I don't want to spend the weekend recording because that is the only time we really have as a family. So I try on, and I will keep trying to record these little snippets of episodes throughout the week, So it all kind of depends on when baby sleeps, when baby is content playing by himself, and so on. Nevertheless, I really hope that you have enjoyed this episode. I hope you are all staying safe and healthy and doing as well as you possibly can. Until I see you again, happy knitting, have so much fun with your crafts. Thanks for watching again, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye!